Oh, hey guys. Yeah, come on in. I was just kind of deep in thought here as I'm picking up the shop as usual. And I was, it's really been on my mind actually for the past few weeks now that one of the government agencies, I don't know if it was DHS or who the heck it was, but someone, I can't recall. I read the article, but I can't recall who it was. But they basically warned the President of the United States that the most likely threat that we need to be worrying about is an EMP attack against our electrical infrastructure. So, and or cyber attacks, things like that, that we're vulnerable for that sort of a thing. And it could also, as I mentioned in another video, just be a solar flare type of a situation. But, you know, uh, they said that basically we need to be prepared for 6 months without power, without, things going on as normal. And it's my understanding if it's an EMP, it's not just the power grid. It's all electronics that are exposed to that initial pulse of the EMP wave. So yeah, I mean your cars aren't going to work. A lot of them. If you've got an older vehicle with points, stuff like that. Older motorcycles that have a points type or a magneto type system, they may work. Some may not. If it's got any kind of a computer chip or electronics in it at all, it's my understanding that it would be fried. So we're talking about a catastrophic event that, 6 months, as many people have probably already read up on and stuff, a lot of people that are, reliant on machines and medicine and stuff like that to keep them alive and or keep them sane. There are some people that, without their medication supply, they might go insane. So you're going to have a lot of mental people, a lot of, just people going crazy because they're not used to not being able to go down to the bank or go down to their normal routine will be broken. They'll look at their smartphone and nothing will happen. And that's going to send a shockwave throughout the system right there that just that alone is going to freak a lot of people out. So, you can imagine after a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks in that scenario with no power, no contact from any government agencies, because they're all struggling, and this is something that I think a lot of people maybe overlook is that, police officers, for example, guess what? They have families as well, and their priorities are going to be just like yours and mine are, is going to our families and protecting our families and our loved ones. So, if you think a cop's going to come when you dial 911, for one, there will be no 911 because even though if you have a landline, usually when the power goes out, the landline will still work. But that's only because the company, Southwestern Bell, let's say, whoever you buy your telephone landline service through, they have power there at the station. But if they don't have power suddenly and all the backup powers have gone down, the generators are down, all that stuff's down, then guess what? Everything shuts down. No more water. And that's really what I want to get to on this video. The most important thing, I think, the first thing you need to think about if you're just now getting into prepping or you're just now, hearing about this deal with the 6 month reset, basically 6 months with no power, and it's catastrophic. A lot of people die in the first couple of weeks, and some people say we're 2 or 3 weeks away from cannibalism. And seeing some of the monsters and the monstrous stuff I see on TV, on the news every day, I believe that, and maybe some people are even looking forward to an event like that happening because, that may give them a reason to, go ahead and go down the dark path that they've always, craved or whatever it is, however that works. I don't know, but not me. I want to prepare to bug in and protect my family to the best of my ability. So the very first thing that we're going to need to think about is water. And, I've toyed and over the years, I've done different things. I've done different experiments. I've captured rainwater. The problem with capturing rainwater is if you don't, it's the sunlight. The sunlight comes in through these clear plastic containers, like the 275-gallon IBC totes. Those things, they'll get not mold and mildew. What is it? Algae. Algae will be growing inside of there within a couple of weeks if any sunlight hits them. And I've thought about painting them. I've thought about coating them with black plastic trash bags. That's an option. I think a better option might just be buy an above ground container that's already equipped that way. Maybe you can go to Tractor Supply or someplace like that, or one of these online deals and buy a black container that you won't have to worry about the algae as much. Otherwise, I guess you could pour bleach in, stuff like that, but drinking bleach water is not ideal. You'd rather drink the clean, pure stuff. So, I've done a lot of experiments on saving water. One of the best things that we've come across is that, unfortunately, I still drink soda pop like a fish. And every time I drink, not every time, but a lot of times I'll save the 2-liter bottles or 1.5 liter, 1.25 liter, the smaller bottles, and save those and store water in them. That's a great way to do it. You can put them in your closet, under your bed, just someplace where it's not going to get sunlight exposed to it. You want it to be in a dark place. I guess you could put them in a brown paper bag or something, and that does work. We've done that for quite a while, and that's a great option to do, just to have drinking water and stuff like that. On a little bit larger level, these water cooler bottles that are like a 5-gallon bottle you can get from pretty much any department store. You'll see them at the close to the register near the front of the store. The Ozarka type deals, where you have a water machine dispenser. Sometimes you can get your hands on those plastic bottles for free or cheap. If you know somebody that's got that set up, maybe they'll give you the old plastic bottles, but I think they're encouraged to exchange them and turn them in. So they might be a little hard to come by, but see if you can find a source on those plastic 5-gallon bottles, because those are great for storage. You can store a lot more bang for the buck there as far as the amount of space that they take up. So they're great for that. And I use those when I'm going back and forth off grid. I, a lot of times take my water, because our well, even though we have a well out there, the pump is not in the hole yet. So that's one thing I've got to address. But on to wells, that's honestly the ultimate storage vessel. It's the best thing that I've found. You leave the water in the hole, you pump it out when you need it on demand. It stays algae free as much as possible anyways. It probably does develop some algae over time, but it's not nearly as much as what it's exposed to above the surface. So it doesn't freeze down in the hole. There's just tons and tons of reasons to leave it down in the hole, but you have to have a well. That's my point. And, if you're in the city and, I don't know, I can't really tell you how to prep, because to be honest, I think you've already made a fatal mistake. You're in the city. That's just my feeling on the deal. Other people may think that, they can go ahead and survive in the city. Maybe they can. I don't know, but I couldn't. And I wouldn't want my family in the city. I would much rather be in the suburbs, or even better than that, way out in BFE, middle of nowhere, with a well. And, even better would be a solar panel that could pump that well and turn that well on and off at your convenience. So that's something to think about. Right now at this location, I'm in the suburbs. I'm on grid. I've got neighbors all around me. This is not an ideal spot that I'm at here either. And that's partly why we're trying to develop the off-grid homestead, is that, we want to be able to go to a place where we have no utility bills, where we can go there and pump all the water we want, drink all the water we want, and, be free. It's a level of freedom. And if you can't afford that, you can't go all the way off grid, you can't commit. Maybe the land's too high in your state and you're just tied to a job or something like that. I know how it is. I'm having a hard time breaking away from this myself. But if you're in that situation, then, you just make the best of what you can. And I would recommend, at very least, get in the suburbs somewhere where you can have your own well, because that's a, not unlimited, but it's a pretty much unlimited water supply right there at your disposal. Now all you have to do is figure out how to provide enough electricity to turn that pump on and pump the water up out of the ground, which does take quite a bit of energy. So you need to know how to do a few things, because if that power grid goes down and it's really down for 6 months, you're going to need water, and you're not going to want to be even 2 or 3 weeks after having water pumped up into that IBC tote, it was already starting to form algae and stuff. So that's not really an option. You're going to need to be able to use your well almost like you normally would, with the exception of you may have to use that IBC tote for temporary storage. And maybe I'd probably go ahead and move that into my big shop so it'd be out of the sun, and clean it out real well, and turn the generator on, run the well, fill the IBC tote up, and then run off of that. That may be how you have to do it, because you don't want to sit there and waste gas, because gas is going to be a limited supply too. So, really, ultimately, a solar-powered water pump is probably the best. Now, The deeper you are down in the ground, the deeper your water is down in the earth, the more power you're going to need to produce to pump it up above the ground to drink it. So keep that in mind depending on where you develop. You know, if you're developing a brand new property, you know, try to find a place where the water is relatively close to the surface so that, you know, it won't cost you as much to drill the well, and hand pumps and things like that are a lot more viable option at shorter distances. So there's just tons and tons of stuff you can do if you have that water well. Now, I can't speak to this. The only thing I can say is just based on my knowledge of it, knowing a few people. You know, if you've got a spring or a big pond or something like that on your property, or even, you know, a river, but I'd be a little leery of a river because of flooding and because of, you know, these days you don't know what the guy up the stream is pouring in the river. One of our local rivers here, they found boxes and boxes of just discarded, used medical syringes that someone threw in the river. You know, I mean, and not only that, all the people from the city, you know, their waste is going down there. The runoff is going down there, let's say. Now, if it was a clean river that you knew was clean, or a creek or something like that, then maybe you could get your water that way. But guys, hopefully it's coming across in the video. This is important stuff. You need to know how you're going to get drinking water. And I wouldn't count on a city supply to save my life for a couple of reasons. You know, I'm not even going to really delve into it, but, you know, you don't really know what they're putting in there. The fluoride, the other stuff, when they recycle the water, a lot of times they're finding trace amounts of, I can't remember what the drug is, but it's the ADHD drug that they're giving kids. They're finding trace amounts of that sort of stuff in the water supply that they're feeding these city people again. You know, so be careful, guys, where you are and where you get your water from, because unless you trust them, unless you've seen the process yourself, be suspicious, because you have every reason to be. All right, guys, hopefully this gives you something to think about. I'm losing my voice, so I've got to grab a drink of water or Dr. Pepper here to get my throat clear. Stay safe, stay prepared. Make sure you have a plan for water, because if you don't, in a short time, you'll perish from this earth, and I don't want to see that. So prepare yourself, protect your family, and do all those things that you think are necessary. Share in the comments if you've got any tips on water and preserving water, stuff like that. Let us know. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next time.